quick podcast video here. We're going to be talking about sales script, clarifying need, and linking yourself to the ideal outcome. Hey, Dan Palmer, how are we doing today?
Hey, doing fantastic. How you, Brett?
I'm doing well. My name is Brett Swartz, and we're going to be talking a little bit about sales, and hopefully we're going to share our journey along the way, creating internal sales scripts here. It's part of our expert secrets kind of focus, where we're learning how to focus on sales, but also on communication and making it better and better and better. And this is a part of our series that we're talking about. So that being said, let's go through this, Dan, together. This is the sales script, right? During the conversation, we need to find out a couple of different things when it comes to what we're doing on the deferred sales trust, right? Which are some facts, but I don't like to start with that. I like to start with like rapport, building rapport, getting connected with someone somehow, some way. Some people need to build that more. If they're more of a driver personality, just want to get down to business. If they're a different personality type, perhaps they want to build some more rapport. If they're more expressive, they want to talk more. But just getting a feel for that. So that's the first step, is building rapport. But once you've developed some rapport with somebody, then you wanted to do what? What's the first step, Dan?
Well, first of all, let me just say it's great for the viewers because I'm seeing this script for the first time, just like you are. So we get to learn this together. I think when you're talking about the different personalities we interact with, Brett, we call it mirroring. The idea that every person you meet is a distinct personality. They have their own desire. So as you're building that rapport, mirroring back to them the characteristics that they're showing you. So if someone's more talkative, it's going to work to be more talkative. If somebody wants to get down to business, it's going to work to get back down to business with them. And so I think part of that building rapport, beginning part of the conversation, is kind of analyzing who they are, what their personality type is, how they handle business, and trying to operate within the realm of what they're looking for. But once you build the rapport and the connection, we're going to go into fact finding, trying to figure out how we can help this individual client. And so first thing we're going to need to find out is the sales price of the exit that they're contemplating.
Yep, that's number one. Exactly right. Sales price of the property, to find out if it's even big enough to make sense. And if you're applying this to your business, do you have a minimum size deals that you're working on? You want to find out, are you going to be able to provide the solution to the pain? And for us, with Capital Gains Tax Solutions, what we're doing, we need to have a big enough sales price as well as a big enough gain, which we'll talk about here in a second, to determine if our solution is even going to be a good solution for them. Because if it's too small, it doesn't make sense for either party. So you're right, Dan. You want to determine the sales price for sure. What else?
And can you explain, like with our business, how do you determine what that price is to make it worthwhile for the client or not?
Yeah, and so for our business, it's not so much just the price, although the price is important. If it's less than $1 million, then it's probably not going to work. So what's the sales price? Let's just say it's $3 million. We want the gain. The gain is their adjusted basis, right? Sales price minus adjusted basis gives us our gain. And so, for example, they bought the property for $1 million. They're selling it for $5 million. Their gain would be $4 million. Assuming they took no other depreciation, or they bought the cryptocurrency for $1 million and they're selling it for $5 million, their gain would be $4 million. So that's why we want to have that equation to be able to determine the gain.
Okay, so during the conversation, build rapport, create a connection, start getting into the details of the exit, which includes the sales price. Then we're going to determine the adjusted basis, which is the sales price minus the adjusted basis.
So adjusted basis is what you purchased it for.
Okay.
Minus depreciation.
Okay. Minus depreciation. Okay. Yeah. Great. And then we got to find the debt on the end.
Yeah. The gain is sales price minus the adjusted basis. So you want to write down sales price minus adjusted basis equals the gain. Just think about it. Like, what did you buy it for? I bought it for $1 million. Okay. What are you looking to sell it for? About $5 million. Okay. Sales price minus what you bought it for is about a $4 million gain. What's adjusted basis really mean? Well, it means they might have bought it for $1 million, but they could have depreciated it, right? So depreciation lowers your basis. you depreciate like multifamily property, the AC unit or the roof gets depreciated, or really anything can be depreciated, right, over years. And your CPA will put that on their tax returns, and they'll appreciate it, and therefore they'll have less tax during that period when they own it, but it lowers the adjusted basis.
So it results in a bigger gain, which means they have to pay more taxes at the exit.
You got it. You nailed it.
Yeah.
Yep. And so that's why we want to clarify that, because someone might have bought it for $2 million, but they fully depreciated it down to zero, and they're selling for $3 million. Well, that's a $3 million gain versus a $1 million gain, right? So that makes sense on that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So we're getting the sales price, the adjusted basis, and the debt on the asset. That's going to tell us the gain. And that allows us.
The debt has nothing to do with the gain. So this also gets confusing too. So people think like, oh, does the debt have to do with it? No, debt has nothing to do with the gain. The debt is important to know. And in a second here, we're going to want to know that. But really what we want to know is sales price minus adjusted basis equals gain. Okay, we got that. Let's just say it's a $3 million gain. Okay. Now we want to figure out, do they have debt?
So let me clarify on the debt. Is that because someone might refinance their property, and so now they have more debt than basically the current value versus what they purchased it for?
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Debt is just debt. That's separate from this. Doesn't affect the gain, right? It affects your net proceeds because you owe money, but it doesn't affect your gain. In other words, your tax liability has nothing to do with your debt, except it actually does have something to do with your tax liability, in the sense that you could be paying more in tax, because if you have debt over adjusted basis, then you're going to be hit with ordinary income tax, which is another category, which is higher than capital gains tax. And so we do want to know what that debt is, but first we just kind of want to know the gain. And so let's establish that they have a gain that's more than $1 million, and it's more than, and then they have at least $1 million net proceeds. That's our minimum. Now we can move to the next step, which is really discovering the need. And this is almost taking like a macro step back, right? We've established that they actually qualify. Okay, you qualify, but now let's see if it's actually a need for you. And the need meaning, what's the primary motivation for selling, right? Why even sell right now? Like, what are you hoping to accomplish? And also, like, how painful will that tax be of $1 million? Let's say on $3 million, they're going to pay $1 million of tax. So discovering if there's even a pain or a need there. And almost immediately you're going to be able to tell. They're going to say, yeah, I don't want to pay $1 million tax. Like, if I can defer that and grow the wealth, great. So we're clarifying the need, and we're having them say, yeah, that's the need. Okay, got it. And the motivation behind selling. So I think need and motivation are kind of it could be a desire for something, and it could be a need to get away from something, right? So where are they at, A, and B, where are they trying to go, right? A is where I'm at. I got this highly appreciated cryptocurrency, business, real estate. B is where I want to go. More time with my family, more time to give, more time to start a new business, more diversify, sleep better at night because I can diversify my wealth. Just take my gains and be smart with it. Be strategic about it, right? Whatever that desire is, the pain. Now, pain tends to move people more than desire, right? Desire tends to move some, but we really move when there's a lot of pain. And so any way we can discover and unlock what some of the pain is behind why they're actually selling at this point is important.
What are some of the top motivations people have for exiting? I've heard a lot in our conversations, and one of the ones that I think resonates is when people maybe have held an asset for a long time and it's appreciated greatly, and they're thinking, okay, now I can sell this and I can invest it and live off the interest and be freed from the daily grind of having to work to earn that living. And then they find out after the tax liability, it's not going to be enough. So deferring the taxes and being able to grow that wealth allows them to achieve that dream of stepping out of the day-to-day grind. What are some other motivations that you've seen, Brett?
Yeah, great question. I call them the top 10 motivations or top 10 freedoms that we offer with Capital Gains Tax Solutions. And so the first one is time, right? So like you talked about, the time and the energy that it takes to own a business, real estate, especially in today's day and age. Us both being from California, we've seen just how much more challenging it is to own businesses or real estate over all the years. It does feel like at times that California is more against the business owner or the real estate owner than they are for them. Maybe 30 years ago it was different. And so it's just not easy. It's not easy to be an owner of assets that are highly appreciated, that have to do with a business or have to do with real estate. So yeah, it could be just the time and energy it takes to be constantly having to deal with something. Okay. Some people call it the toilets, the trash, the termites, the tenants. Like just it's nonstop. So that's definitely number one. Number two could be the ability to be away from a partner, right? Like a partnership has just come to an end, and it may not be a bad ending. It just could be, hey, it's season. We're in different parts of our lives, and the seasons have changed. And one partner maybe want to retire. One partner wants to be more entrepreneurial. One partner wants to continue on, and the other was ready to retire. And so, just to be able to separate that partnership in as seamless a way as possible is another big motivating factor for people. The next one has to do with diversification, right? The ability to lock in and sleep better at night, knowing that your gains are not tied to one single asset, whether it be cryptocurrency, a business, real estate. And in other words, all your eggs are not just in one basket. You can now exit and defer the tax and diversify that. The next one would be debt freedom, the ability just to be out of debt, not having to be forced to stay in debt, especially as debt is adjusting and debt is going higher and debt is coming due. In fact, we're working on the deal in Sacramento right now for two business partners that are exiting a $14 million asset, and they have a $7 million of debt that's coming due in 1 year. Their interest rate's about 3% now. It's going to go to 6.5, 7 if they refinance, but their cash flow is basically going to go negative if they don't do anything, right? And so that's like a big pain of that debt versus having to do a 1031 and having to stay in debt. So I think a lot of people at a certain point want to be debt free, especially they don't want to be forced into bad debt. People don't mind good debt. Good debt meaning you have positive arbitrage on the difference between what you're selling or what your cash flow is versus your debt service, right? If your cash flow is greater than, then that's it's a deal that is sustaining itself. But when it goes into inverse, right, now you're basically sinking the ship. And that's where you got to be very, very careful. So to be able to be debt free is a nice piece of the deferred sales trust. The next one I would say would be to be able to partner with your children or other people. So one thing is to get out of partnerships. The other thing is to be able to fund grandchildren or kids on their business venture. We have clients that love the ability to be the funding source versus the kids having to go to a bank or the kids having to stay in the W-2 job. Like they can partner with their mom or their dad or their grandpa or their grandma, and the trust can be that source of capital to fund that. What a cool legacy to be able to pass on to your kids or your grandkids, and to be able to partner with them on a business venture, right? So in other words, the capital itself is locked in a situation where it can be unlocked to teach and to train and to build up and to build a business with the kid. Those are just a few. And then you have estate tax freedom. We can eliminate estate tax. We can eliminate the 1031 exchange. Those are just a few that I really like. You can get a new depreciation schedule. These are certain things that are a little more technical, but those are just a few, Dan.
Oh, that's fantastic. Great information, Brett. Thank you. And so as we're, figuring out what the motivation is, we're going to focus on, what would having an extra 25 to 50% of your proceeds working for you mean in your life?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So actually bring it very practical, right? So just saying like, what would that only mean for you, those proceeds working for you that are what's called the ROE, return on equity. You currently have, let's say, a $5 million worth of equity, but it's only producing, let's say, $300,000 or $400,000. Well, that's an equation there. Well, what if that 5 million can produce $500,000 or $600,000 or $700,000, right? What would that mean for you, that extra cash flow? And that's also part of clarifying the need. Like, what's the motivation for selling, but also the desire? What would more cash flow mean for you, for giving, for spending, for investing, whatever it might mean? It means different things for different people. So As well, we want to move towards what's called not only clarifying the need, but also the ideal outcome, right? Where do you really want to be, right? We tend to be, a lot of us tend to say what we don't want, but it's really important to work with people to say what they do want. Like, yeah, I know you don't want to pay tax, right? Yeah, I know you'd like to just, defer that capital gains tax, right? But what do you really do want? What do you want? Well, and what would that mean for you if you can increase cash flow? I think a lot of times with our clients, when we're walking in through the actual numbers and we start to give them the real numbers of like, here's what conservatively we think we can do, pretty conservatively on our investments based upon your amount of equity, even net of fees. And they're like, wow, like all of a sudden it's a whole nother shift. And so I'll go again, negativity or need motivates the change, but desire helps us to see it through, right? Where we're going to be on the other side of it. And so you want to do both. So clarify the ideal outcome. And here's the key, while checking for positive feedback, right? So what would extra cash flow mean for you? What would freedom with your time and your family mean for you? Like, it sounds like, it feels like, it seems like this would make a big difference in your family, and you're checking for positive feedback. So any questions on that second step, which is clarifying the need and ideal outcome? Yeah.
Yeah, you're determining their need and their motivation, but then you're also tapping into what's your dreams. Like when this outcome goes through, what are you hoping to accomplish with it? And so you kind of get both sides of that spectrum where you say, hey, here's the pain, here's the need, here's my motivation, but then also here's what the outcome that I would love to see that would change my life, that would, bring more meaning and purpose to me. And so it seems like we're trying to tap into both ends of that spectrum.
Absolutely. And it's really momentum, right? Momentum for what's possible. And momentum is greater than the sum total of all of our leadership resources and strategy combined. And so as much as we talk about tax strategy and numbers and finance and those different things, momentum is built really by that desire that's going to pull them in that direction. Because using a deferred sales trust or anything that is multiple millions of dollars of exit, of consequence or exit price or tax, it's a big deal. And so it's got to be both need and desire and momentum, which leads into the third step here, which is what's called future pace, the ideal outcome, what they ultimately want, and check for positive emotions, right? So, and now it's moving a little bit deeper here, right? It's going not just to the head knowledge, but also going to more of the heart, right? The emotions behind it. Like, what would it really mean for you to be able to spend that time with your family? What would it really mean to you to be able to not have to be in a partnership that's been causing you some challenges, right? Or to be able to be debt free, or whatever the thing may be, right? And you're looking for, and you're trying to paint a picture of, okay, so fast forward 1 year from now, what would have to gone right for this to be a success for you? Where would you be? What would it feel like? What would you be thinking and doing, right? And now you're looking for them to go beyond where they're at right now into the future and be like, oh, okay, yeah, if this went well, and this went well, and this went well, I would feel this, this, and this, right? I think, and now you're going to be mirroring and labeling those emotions. So it sounds like, it seems like, it feels like 1 year from now, if you didn't have to deal with the toilet trash liability, if we can increase your cash flow by 20, 30, 40, 50%, and you can be out of debt, that sounds like it would be an absolute home run for you, right? And you have written down their emotions and their challenges and their needs, right? And along the way, as you discover their needs, you wrote down, this is a need, this is a need, this is a need, this is a desire, this is a desire, this is a desire. You've clarified that, and now you've future paced. And now this is the part where you're looking for positive emotions. Yes. They're nodding their head. They're saying yes, exactly, great. Now you're going to link yourself to the ideal outcome, right? This is where you come in and say, look, part of what we do here at Capital Gains Tax Solutions is we deliver on helping you accomplish these certain goals: debt freedom, tax deferral, diversification, liquidity, increased cash flow, partnership freedom, estate tax freedom, 1031 exchange freedom. And it sounds like this would be great for you on these, especially these 2 or 3, right? You probably don't want to go to all 10, but you have those, and you have those over here as the place that we can deliver. And you're linking yourself. We have a unique skill set to do this. The companies and the background, over $500 million in transactions closed with deferred sales trust and commercial real estate transactions. The actual trust strategies happen thousands of times with the legal team. It's never had any failed IRS audits. It's a perfect legal track record. And so you're linking yourself. So this is the part where you're actually selling. You're selling in the sense of, this is who we are. This is why we're uniquely qualified to help you get from A to B. Any questions on that?
No, that sounds great. So the future pace isn't about the timing of the exit. It's really about them looking into the future and realizing, what would this do for me? How would this change my life? How would this increase my joy and my time and my connection with other people? And so that's a great picture to paint in people's mind to get them moving forward.
Yeah, you nailed it. Exactly right, Dan. So now it goes on to the next thing. Once you've linked yourself to the ideal outcome into the need, solution in the need, right? And it's being specific as you can be. And this is where deal stories are really powerful as well. Because one thing to say, oh, I can do this for you to help you accomplish that. It's one thing to say, like, let me tell you about Nick and Jeannie, who were in a similar situation that you were in, and they were selling their business they had for 50 years. And they were selling their other real estate property. They've dealt with the toilet trash, and they're in Colorado, especially if they're in the same state. It's even more powerful, right? Mm-hmm. And these are multiple $1 million exits. In fact, they have a huge amount of tax liability that they were going to pay. But more than that, they were looking for an opportunity to be able to move from Colorado, to diversify their wealth, to be tax deferred, and to move into more of a season of retirement and legacy focus. They might even partner with 1 or 2 of their kids or their grandkids eventually. And they had the challenge and the need of the 1031 exchange being so painful. In fact, one time they bought a hotel in the middle of Ohio that they barely saw because of the tax gun was pressuring them to buy it. And they bought it and they regretted it, right? And so they've had these painful situations with the 1031 exchange. They found the deferred sales trust. And by the way, at first they were skeptical and cautious. In fact, their CPA thought it was too good to be true. But then the CPA came and listened and went through it, and he became a believer, right? And he was all for it. He makes sense to him, right? He didn't think once he understood, once he talked with him. And so now you're bringing it together through an actual deal story, right? And that deal story is like, hey, by the way, if you want to talk with them, great. But here's also a link. You can watch the entire video of them sharing their story. It's a pretty cool video. You want to watch it? Yeah. Okay, great. I'll send it to you. And you can also talk to them after you've watched the video. So now you're bringing it to life here with an actual deal story, which is so powerful. And it's not even so much you selling as it is the client testimonial, and the proof is selling it, right? So that would be the thing. And then you would ask this basically to kind of close it out, right? So if I could help you achieve, or if I could help you get or have, and these are the things, their needs and their challenges, right? Would that be of value to you? So you had written down their needs, their desires. If I could help you achieve, have, get, peace of mind, peace for not having any debt, freedom with your time and your energy, all of the things that they have said, would that be of value to you? Would that be helpful for you? Would that be worthwhile? Would that be important? Would that be significant to you? And that's it. And at the end of that, they should have a pretty good feel for why the deferred sales trust could be a great fit, what they could do for their future, and how we as a team can help them achieve that.
I think it's fantastic, Brett, how you've worked so hard to create a library of information and testimonials that, however many questions or how skeptical someone might be, they can go and hear story after story after story. I'll never forget being at my first conference with you. And you got up and presented, and people were listening and very interested. You had your tax flow shirt on, which is always a hit. And near the end, you brought up one of your clients that was in the room, and he very quickly, 3-4 minutes, told the story of how this process changed his life. And I just watched the entire room change to where everyone started writing notes down rapidly. And, the word of a third party whose life has been impacted by what Capital Gains Tax Solutions does makes all the difference. And you've done a great job of connecting a potential client with current clients who can share honestly and openly about how this has impacted their lives. I think that's very well done by you.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, I appreciate it. And it's an honor and a pleasure to work with amazing clients. And that's our favorite part. It's be able to part of their story, part of their wealth journey, helping them be great stewards with their wealth and be trustees is what we are. We're trustees to help them do that. So it's an absolute pleasure and an honor and our calling to do what we're doing here. So yeah, we exist to essentially unlock capital gains to multiply impact and freedom. And it's different for every single person that we work with. But what we love to uncover that unique way to do that for each family and each individual, whether it be, again, crypto sales, business, real estate. And when it comes together, it's a beautiful thing. It's like an orchestra symphony all coming together, right? And it's just a beautiful thing to be able to defer tax, grow wealth, have flexibility, make an impact. And so with that being said, we are out of time. So if people want to take action, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. And you can get started, and that looks different for different people. If you're watching this and you're like, hey, is he selling me the DST? Yes. Is he helping me clarify and help me sell other things that I'm selling? Yes. Like, we're here for you. We have a YouTube channel, a podcast, a best-selling book. If you are at all interested, you can check that out on Amazon, Building a Capital Gains Tax Exit Plan. But I want to encourage you, if you're a business professional, to use this sales script to clarify need and ideal outcome and really understand the emotion behind what the person you are called to serve is serving. Make sure you're listening actively, using mirrors and labels. You're clarifying the need. You're forecasting what you're casting vision is really what you're doing for the future pacing, and then you're linking yourself to how to do. How you're going to help them to get where they want to go, right? And then you're asking that question: if I could help you achieve X, Y, and Z, and move away from the challenges of ABC, would that be of value to you, helpful, worthwhile? And I promise you, you will help them more, and you will close more deals, and it will be ultimately a win-win for everybody. Appreciate everyone